Hello, and thank you for taking the time to learn more about how adequate and affordable childcare is one of the predominant struggles low-income families are faced with today. I will be discussing the importance of increasing the quality of programs for subsidized childcare and increasing the amount of low-income childcare benefits, as well as a little bit about what you can do to help advocate for this issue. First, let's look at some statistics surrounding low-income households and the need for adequate childcare. In the U.S., there are currently around 47.5 million individuals living in low-income families, 23.5 million of those being children. 41% of all children in the United States are considered low-income or poor, and 69% of these children live in a single-parent household. Amazingly, of every 10 children living with a single mother in the U.S., 7 are low-income. It is important to understand that these low-income families are commonly attached to the stigma of laziness or an inability to work, resulting in their status of poverty. However, 53.5% of low-income children live with at least one parent who is employed full-time and year-round. Being employed full-time is crucial in being able to make ends meet, but those with young, non-school-age children have an additional concern on their plate. Who will watch my child while I am working? Working parents need childcare for as many hours as they are at a job, which means that children under the age of 5 are in childcare 35 or more hours a week to accommodate for a full-time work schedule. Now considering the price of these hours. Taking into account that there are many variations across states, the average cost of full-time childcare in the U.S. was $10,174 in 2020. Now compare this to the average rent U.S. citizens pay per year at $12,852. This means that childcare is almost as large a financial burden as housing. Through childcare.gov, families can look up the programs available to them depending on the state they are residents of. For the purpose of my call to action, I've been focusing on those available in the state of Virginia. At first glance, this seems like a fairly straightforward and simple process. However, once starting the process, it becomes a stressful array of forms, different links to different websites, unaccommodating wait times, and unclear boundaries of eligibility. Additionally, the services that are available or do accept government funding struggle to maintain adequate numbers of childcare workers and often do not meet expectations of inspection or ratings for health and safety. One of the biggest concerns when budgeting is the fact that working individuals have to wait 30 days before receiving benefits. This is a long month of either costly childcare expenses or taking time off work to care for a child, further reducing the available income for that month. So how is this contributing to economic inequality in our country? One study showed that average hours and cost burdens of childcare are relatively constant across the socioeconomic groups. For example, the individuals in the 0 to 10th percentile of income average 26.3 hours of daycare weekly and pay 5.6% of their income for it, versus families in the 90 to 100th percentile of income who use 27.9 hours per week and spend 5.5% of their income on childcare. The similarity of cost burdens, despite the significant difference in income, occurs because disadvantaged families make far more extensive use of cheaper types of care and pay less for any given mode of care. One implication of this is that at least some of the efforts made by disadvantaged families to minimize the burden of childcare come at the cost of their accepting lower quality services or lower quality jobs. This suggests that childcare expenses raise the extent of income inequality, resulting in an even more difficult situation of the least advantaged families. Additionally, 68% of working parents in Virginia say someone in their household's job is currently being impacted by lack of access to childcare. This means that individuals who need work the most are unable to because of difficulty finding care, resulting in a lower monthly income. This issue is also a major contributor to intergenerational poverty, with the environmental stressor of not having adequate care resulting in difficulty with education or even going into the workforce early on to increase family income. One 2021 research publication on the disruptions to childcare arrangements and work schedules had significant findings on how low-income families are impacted by a lack of childcare availability. According to researchers, among low-income households who reported a disruption, these disruptions were frequent. Over the course of a calendar year, they estimated that low-income households who experience disruptions do so at least 20 days on average. Over a 3-month period, nearly half of all households that reported a disruption said they had experienced this on 5 or more days during this period. That's equivalent for a total of 1 work week. More than 1 in 10 households reported that disruptions happened very frequently on 10 or more days. This is equivalent to 2 work weeks per quarter. Among low-income households who reported a disruption, the associated economic impact was sizable. Nearly half of those low-income households who experienced a disruption that impeded their work schedule lost pay as a result. At least 60% across racial or ethnic groups lost pay, and this is also true for those who reported arriving late or leaving early from work. 49% of these households lost pay as a result as well. Looking at a couple of testimonials exemplifies just how severe the concern for parents has become. Jessica from New York stated, "I am concerned about childcare as my husband and I both work full-time. He is not home in the evenings at all, so I need to be available for my children. I do not have family who can take my children or help us. I am a social worker who obtains aid services and gets needed supplies to members who are unable to care for themselves and are medically frail. I need to do my job, but I cannot with my children at home. One is 3 years old. However, I will not get paid if I don't work and will most likely lose my job. I need assistance and do not know what to do. Please help myself and others in this situation." Similarly, we hear about Brittany's financial difficulties and the impact it's had on her in Virginia. "The times are not built to support people like me who need to work 2 and 3 jobs to maintain a semblance of a normal lifestyle. With schools being closed, the obvious alternative would be to find a babysitter, right? Wrong. The going rate for a trustworthy sitter is $10 per hour. I only earn $15.50, which would be more than half my salary. So now it appears I need another job just to pay for childcare. If I take time off, then I will be short of funds to pay my expenses. I am not attempting to gain any pity for my circumstances, for I have come a long way. I do, however, want to highlight the large problem that plagues a large percentage of the national population." So how can these programs be improved? There are 4 major improvements that can be made to these types of programs in order to better accommodate low-income families. The first being a general increase of funding for childcare providers. 74% of Virginia childcare centers reported experiencing staffing shortages last year, and they don't receive adequate funds to uphold expectations for high ratings. Another improvement would include marketing changes to policy and availability. 1 year ago, Congress approved the largest increase ever to subsidized childcare, bringing over $40 million to Virginia's childcare system. However, people and programs don't seem to be aware of this change because childcare subsidy is under the radar, and it's time to change that. Thirdly, the 30-day period for determining eligibility creates major inconvenience to families, especially if looking to begin work at certain times that intercede with the availability of care. Shortening this time period or providing services that can accommodate for this specific wait time would greatly improve the financial abilities of individuals. And lastly, eligibility for subsidized childcare did not account for low-income families, only those under the poverty line. Fortunately, the former governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, started to move in the right direction by temporarily increasing the annual total family income limit to participate in the Virginia Child Care Subsidy Program. This was due to the COVID-19 health emergency. However, this temporary fix should be closer to a permanent solution in order to see long-term improvement. So what can you or anyone else do to make a difference? The answer is a lot. There are already organizations in place that can use support and share ways to get involved. In the state of Virginia, these include the Virginia Promise Partnership, the Virginia Early Childhood Foundation, and the First 5 Years Fund. All of these organizations work to expand funding for, improve quality of, and increase options in childcare for low-income families across Virginia. Some things I would encourage you to do is go to their websites and make a pledge to spread awareness. They also have options where you can email your state senator about policy and support businesses that donate to this cause. To access any of these organizations, all of their websites are available at theirname.org. So these are the sources I used for the information in this presentation, and I hope you learned more about this issue and are now aware of some things you can do to become more involved. I look forward to hearing your reactions and answering any questions you may have about this topic. Thank you.